Recording has begun.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My name is Shazad Hussain and I live at 20 Primary Way in Undercliff. And today has been 140 days since my brother Talib's been kidnapped from my care and held hostage by the local authority, Bradford Council, and the authorities. Today is Boxing Day, and today is a bit of a late session today, so about quarter to 11. I've just been really busy with other things. I've spent like a couple of hours catching up with some friends, and so it's difficult because I'm still trying to cope with the fact that I'm still it's been 140 days that my brother's been taken away from me, and as a result of the local authority coming to persecute and hound us, and giving me no information or no notice of where he is and what kind of condition he's being held under. It's difficult to psychologically take on board what's happening because there's no legal framework in place. There's no recourse for me to follow other than trying to, other than trying for me to trying to make sense of it all and trying to still keep my head above the water from drowning into this despairing misery that they've placed me into. After having murdered my mother previously, now they're having, after having previously murdered my father and murdered my older brother, they've kidnapped my elder brother, my younger brother, or my other brother Talib for the last 140 days. I'm contacting the police, the social workers, the solicitors. They're all involved. It's all a conspiracy, a joint enterprise conspiracy under the guise of adult safeguarding to target and victimize and vilify me in order for them to put me into a position of a perpetual servitude and bondage, so that they can continue to place restrictions and restrictions on my life, and put me into a situation where I'm having to suffer inordinately. But I just am trying to be conscious of the fact that my brother's equally suffering. Brothers equally suffering from being isolated from me, and it's just very disheartening and despondency and despairing that a time when we should be spending together, a time when I should be being of service to him, that I'm being put into a position where I am put into a place of I don't know, put into a place where I'm being victimized and persecuted into this situation. So it's very, very difficult, but I'm trying to cope as best as I can. In fact, I'm quite resilient. It doesn't really bother me as long as I know my brother's safe and no harm is coming to him and he's happy and secure. But the reality is that he's not going to be happy and secure. He's not going to be in a position of safety because of the fact that these people cannot cope with what's happening. These people cannot cope with providing care and support services, and as a result of which I and my brother are suffering. They can't do what they're supposed to be doing, yet they're making all the money that this from the government, and well, the war continues. It's the completely villainous thing is the fact that they've recruited my estranged siblings and relatives for their nefarious benefit and advantage, and also the fact that they're buying off the judges, and the judges are in their back pocket and um, continuing to work in their best interest, all collective conspiring together in order to target little old me because I was looking to expose the fraud and corruption and deception and villainy of the people that they put us into this situation. Absolutely horrendous. So it's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking to know the fact that there's nothing I can do about it. I'm powerless against the state, which is abusing this position of authority and power and control, and putting me into a situation of perpetual servitude and bondage, and looking to degrade and humiliate me like this under some sort of Islamophobic, xenophobic narrative and agenda. But what can one do but patiently persevere and persistently try to overcome the abject adversity that they placed me into? I shall patiently persevere and look to bring these people not bow or yield or acquiesce to their tyranny. But it's hurting me and it's harmful to my mental health. And well, obviously, as you can see, I'm quite resilient. It doesn't really bother me too much. I've been dealing with psychopaths and villainous, evil people for the best part of my life, so I know how to deal with these people. But it does, on some sort of psychological level, does cause me alarm, harm, and distress. I have very good coping mechanisms I'm basically made myself anti-fragile, a fragile little child that can easily start crying at the whims of being put into subjugation and tyranny like this. I'm quite resilient and strong in that regard, and I must credit myself for that, because anybody else being put into this situation would have mentally had a breakdown. And considering that I have a family of mental breakdowns, I'm just still continuing to fight the good fight, and trying to hold my own. So just continuing to persevere, I guess, and trying to cope with everything. Today is Boxing Day, and tomorrow I go back to war for a couple of days before the new year starts, and we'll see what happens in the new year, because I'm still being targeted and victimized and put into perpetual servitude and bondage. So we'll see how things go. It's very, very hard and difficult, but I will persevere, and inshallah I'll be successful one day. But in the meantime, my brother may not be alive. I have to reconcile myself to the reconcile myself to the understanding that I may never see my brother again. I last saw him 140 days ago when they just came and kidnapped him, and now I'm never going to see him again. So it's kind of sad and disheartening and worrying, but it doesn't matter. I will persevere, and I will suffer. I will survive, as they say. I will survive. I'm not suicidal. I'll never kill myself. And if any harm comes to me, is as a direct result of fighting the local authority, who are even on the verge of bankruptcy, looking to continue to do acts of villainy and tyranny against me. So we'll see what happens. Allah Hafiz.